Good morning everyone, welcome back to American Truck Simulator. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm David Steele and here's my truck. Today, you know what, let's go ahead and get the engine going.
Let's do this.
There we go. Today we are in a 2017-ish specification Freightliner Cascadia. That's the SCS truck. And we are using the Zeemods DD13 engine. That's one of the engines that I worked on the torque curve. Z did all the clever stuff. I did a couple of spreadsheets. There we go. Into the cabin. It's raining and we're in Vegas. Let's get the lights on. And today we're doing something of an efficiency run. We're going to do one of my favorite routes, and that is the Interstate 93 from Vegas to Kingsman. It's a pretty good hilly route. There's some areas that are speed limited 65, some areas that are speed limited 55. We're going to be sticking to 55 today for two reasons. Well, no. The highest I'm going to set the cruise control is going to be 55. But we may go a little quicker going down the hill, and I don't want to get busted speeding. There's one section where we may end up speeding. We might get nicked for it, but there we go. Let's go ahead and maneuver out of here. So, an efficiency challenge. Well, this is not the most scientific of experiments because it's difficult to be so scientific. But what we're doing today is a cargo close to 40,000 pounds. And a similar route, but not the same because there's different places you can collect and drop off cargoes between Kingsman and Vegas. And a kind of similar specification truck, so I'm sure that there are slightly more efficient specifications for the Cascadia. Well, the one I'm going with today is kind of what I would expect an efficiency machine to be. Now, most of the machines I've driven have been around about the 400 horsepower. This one's a little less at 370, and there are other engines that might work out better. There's the integrated powertrain. I'm about to cough. I'm very unprofessional on the microphone. Let me see if I can get myself in traffic and take a sip of water. Okay, all right. We're using the Detroit Diesel 12-speed direct drive transmission today. That's an automated box, so I'll not be changing gears myself. There we go. Okay. Why am I doing this? Because I can, because I feel like it. Because efficiency in the game, I like the way it's modeled, and I'm feathering the throttle right now. There we go. Let's take a sip of water here. See if that helps.
Keep right.
Excuse me. Anyway, it's raining. It shouldn't make a difference to today's trip particularly. And I have a lot of spreadsheet data I've accumulated over the years I've been playing the game. So today's trip is not going to teach me anything I didn't know. Steering too much, David. Let's get cruise on. Let's get cruise on to 55. So it's not going to teach me anything I don't know, but it's an interesting comparison of a few fleet spec-ish trucks, and I'll try some owner-operator type specs. What sort of mileage would I expect from a truck like this with this payload over this trip? Well, somewhere close to 8 miles per gallon, depending on 7 to 8. And some of the results I've done so far, I took a trip in the original, or the Cascadia 125, the John Ruder's truck, with the MBE engine. I'd recently added that to the Steel Productions engine pack, and that was a 6.5, I think, to the gallon. It's a little disappointing, but in the context of everything else, I should say, because load up an MX-13 Epic spec into a Kenworth T680. That's the day cab version, and you might not put that Epic into there, but I did. Give it a TX12 transmission with a super tall top gear, and I was seeing over 8. No, very little to the left. I mounted up 410 horsepower rated Cummins X12 efficiency into a Peterbilt 579, used similarly tool gearing, slightly shorter I think, and got about the same miles per gallon, which is about 8. And given the sort of hilly gradient, I was happy with that. I just manually forced it to use top gear, so let's see how well this one does. Yeah, I'm expecting it to be around about 8 to the gallon. And right now I'm bobbling along, I'm at 55. My trip computer in the center of the dashboard, I've gone for the analog gauges today. Just need to merge left. It's showing close to 10 miles per gallon. Trip's 5.1, but the whole instantaneous readout is showing 10 to the gallon, and that's what I would expect. This is, there we go. Not an aerodynamic shape. Don't think the game model is aerodynamics, but that's okay. But its cargo weight is about 37,000 pounds. So some of the trips I've used a heavier cargo, some of them I've used a lighter. But here's the start of the first pretty long gradient. We'll see what the speed gets down to. I'm not going to change gear for it. I'm going to let it figure all that stuff out. Okay, around the corner, and then we start to go up. There we go. So it's working it hard and it's bleeding a little speed, but there we go. First downshift to 11. Okay. This engine produces peak torque at 975 RPM, and that's pretty much when it will downshift. There it goes again. That's down to 10th. Yeah, this is a steep bit, so it's losing plenty of speed. I think it'll get down to maybe 8th gear. I guess we'll see. That's 35. That's less than 30. Comes another downshift. Any second now. Oh, okay. It's lunking up it in 12th and 10th even. That is interesting. Slightly shorter gearing than the TX12 transmission I used in the, I think it was the Kenworth I used that one for. But dang, that's impressive. I'm impressed with that. It dropped down a couple of gears, but it kept it going. And of course now we're going to speed up a little bit. There's a downhill section. I'm happy for it to exceed 55. It's not going to set the cruise any higher. Welcome to Arizona. So efficiency in this game, it seems to take into account only a few factors. So cargo weight or overall weight. Drivetrain, maybe. Today we're in a 6x4. There's a big difference in a 4x2. That is the little short single axle tractors. That might be weight. Gearing. So you want to cruise at low engine speeds. You get much better efficiency that way. And power. So the more power you've got, the more fuel you can burn. And aerodynamics isn't really a factor. It doesn't seem to be. Aerodynamic packaging, so I'll zip to the outside view in a second. I'm not going to crash. There we go. Let's try and do that. Try and see if I can show you the front without crashing. Coming up to another upper gradient here. So we've got the aero front spoiler. The rear wheels have got the aero packaging, the 2020 spec, and that rooftop spoiler, which isn't doing much today because there's an odd shape behind me. Yeah, I gotta switch back to the cabin. There we go. In the real world, these will all make a difference to your mileage, but in the game, I don't believe that they do. If they change the weight, that might make an impact, but if anything, they'll hurt fuel efficiency. And I've thought about, what if I were to modify my engines to take into account if it's an aero truck or a conventional truck that they're going into. So with the same engine in the Kenworth W900, it should produce less power or burn more fuel than the equivalent will in the 579, the Peterbilt 579. But then you start ending up with, how do I quantify that? Do I say the difference is 20%? Do I say it's 10%? The difference is more at higher speed and lower let. So there's a lot to take into account, and I don't know whether I want to go down that road. But I mean, I could. If you have any observations or thoughts, let me know in the comments below. But right now, so far, this thing is sipping its diesel. And I'm very happy with it. Let's see if I can switch to the wheel camera. Oh yeah, and we're using FedEx delivery today. If I don't forget, I'll include a link to that in the description below. And if I do forget, or if you're the author, hit me up, shake your fist at me, and I'll take care of it. Now, as we get close to our destination, we will come across a weigh station, and I'm going to ignore it if it wants me to go ahead and get the combination weighed, because that's going to burn more fuel. I've got to slow down. That doesn't burn any fuel. I'm going to get back up to speed at the far side. I don't want to do that. Okay, here's the port of entry. Please don't ask me to come in. You are. Okay, so I'm going to ignore this, and I'm going to get fined. I guess we'll watch that. Sorry, boys and girls, not going to do it today. The other factor that affects your mileage in this game is how you drive. There we go. That's my fine. And I don't just mean how fast you drive, although that has an impact too. But with something like this, I'm going to lift off very well. I should lift off earlier. I'm going to use the engine brake now.
Do you even listen to me?
I think I've got to go straight over at the lights I'm coming up to. Yeah, more engine brake because I'm still speeding to 35. There we go. Okay. And really, if you constantly, just as in the real world, if you're constantly on the gas pedal, on the diesel pedal I suppose, on the throttle, on the brake, on the throttle, on the brake, you use lots of fuel. I've lifted off completely. I'm not touching the accelerator pedal. I'm going to have to stop up here. I need to be in the left-hand lane, but there's a Mac Anthem even, so I can't get in the left-hand lane. So okay, never mind. I wonder if I can still. No, I think I can. Is that international? Oh, he's let me in. Thank you, sir. Let's give you a quick double flash. Thank you. So he's let me in, but yeah, how you drive, and if you coast for a long period, you generally use no fuel or very little fuel. That can make a big impact. I mean, my trip's now showing 7.9 to the gallon, and there's a couple of fairly long hills that I've gone up. Cruise control is not always useful because when you turn it on, it will try and maintain your speed. If you're going up a hill, it will keep your throttle down all the way. Sometimes just reduce the cruise to a slower speed and let the truck kind of waft along up that gradient. Yes, you do lose a little bit of time, but if you don't have the engine trying so hard to get back up to cruising speed, you can save quite a bit of fuel. And as well, if you're going up a hill, you generally have to come down it, and you don't regain all of that speed, all of that energy on the way down, but you do regain some of it. Am I going to get a green light anytime soon? I've got a red light. Where's my green light? Okay, there we go. So yeah, if your speed goes from 55 down to 35 on the way up, you can set your cruise at maybe 35 or 40. As you crest the hill, it will start to reduce power because you've reached your cruising speed. That's great. Let it just accelerate down the hill by itself. Now, yes, if you've got a bunch of traffic behind you, and in the real world it's a little harder to do than this, but in the simulation, they can wait for you. It's completely fine. Right now, I'm lifting off because I'm toning up, and yes, I'm bleeding speed, but that's okay. I'm only getting 3 to the gallon.
And then turn left.
But that's 3 to the gallon and not 1 mile per gallon. So again, lifting off the whole time. A little bit of the service brake, start to turn in, a little bit of power. Messed that one up slightly. He freaked out in the yellow car. And I'm feathering the throttle. I may have done this route a couple of times. We turn right and then we almost immediately turn left. I'm not going to do any form of parking other than what it gives me just to arrive. So, off the power, slight hint of power here.
Get ready to turn
It's
left.
downshifted. No, this is a little excessive. I didn't need to necessarily go quite this slow. Trip's dropped to 7.5, but I still think we've done very well on this trip. I'm hoping for somewhere over 8.
We're here. Right on time.
Okay. And that's a wrap. Right, let's take a look. Okay. 144 miles and 19.1 gallons of diesel consumed. Okay. I've done a very similar trip to this with the same cargo. That's 7.5 to the gallon. I'm a little disappointed with that, but only a little, because I felt like it was doing really well, but okay. Well, that just about wraps up today's video. I think I'm going to spend a few more days doing these trips, because it's just interesting to see how the different combinations work, and I might try another Freightliner trip in this model Cascadia with a different engine and maybe a different gearbox. See if we do better. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, you know what to do. Good grief, I'm squeaking. If you have, you know what to do. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much, everyone. Goodbye.